don't forget, we need to follow the podcast so we know when new episodes drop.
And now it's time for Leadership of the Leaf with Dice and Austin. Let's jump in with a cut and a light.
Hey everyone, welcome. This is Leadership of the Leaf. I am Dice.
And I am Austin.
All right, Austin, I'm just curious, what are today's topics?
Well, today we're going to discuss the different parts or the cigar anatomy, but different parts of the cigar. So we're going to go over all of that fun stuff, which there's a lot more to it than just, the head, the body, and the foot. And then after we do that, we're going to figure out what should you do if you made the wrong call, whether that's in a relationship, business, anything.
Oh, but that never happens to us, right? We don't.
Never.
Okay,
I always
good.
make 100% correct calls. Again, ask my wife.
Good call.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Here, you sipping. What are you drinking today?
I'm actually drinking a nice coffee by Black Rifle Coffee Company. It is called Fool's Gold, and it's an Irish cream flavored coffee. And what about you, good sir?
I'm a little more bougie today, I guess.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's an instant coffee, but it's by Davidoff Coffee.
Oh, and what are you pairing that coffee with? Because, this is cigars. Leadership of the Leaf.
That's true. And for some reason, I actually did a little homework this time and knew we was going to be doing cigar anatomy. So
it's amazing.
I'm smoking the Punch Fu Manchu.
Ooh.
It's a very interesting cigar.
Yeah, it's got that Fu Manchu tucked under the band and under the cap a little bit.
And it's actually a two-tone. It's a Habano. I'll learn how to say it in a minute. Habano wrapper. It's the same wrapper through and through. It's just a lighter shade of the Habano.
Well, fair enough. I am puffing on an M by Macanudo, coffee flavored. It's, as some of our listeners may understand and know, I am not a huge flavored cigar fan. However, this one is just pairs so well with this Fool's Gold. It's got a nice creamy kind of sweetness to it. So it pairs pretty well.
I saw a picture of your coffee there, and it looks very interesting. It caught my eye.
Yeah, it was a St. Patrick's Day special. I wonder if you could tell by the wrapper. If you've never seen it, it has a leprechaun on it. So.
Oh man. Yeah, when I post to Instagram, I'll take a better look at it. And I might have to pick that up because I know that's a veteran-owned company.
It is a veteran-owned company.
Perfect.
As we love to support our veterans. Well, let's dive in. Let's get into the cigar anatomy. What do you know of the cigar anatomy?
Well, I know the basic concepts. I know the head is where the cap is, and that's the part I put in these beautiful lips of mine.
Yes, that would be the head.
Yeah, you agree. I got beautiful lips.
Sure, why not? So you got the head where the cap resides, and then you have the body, which is the area between the head and the foot. And then you have the foot, which is the end of the cigar that you light. And obviously the foot can come in many different styles. There's closed, shaggy, open, unfinished. I think we've had a couple different closed foot cigars. I think one of your favorites, Sweet Jane. Doesn't that have a closed foot?
It does have a closed foot. It's a little tricky to light, but once you get it, I think it's very pleasurable.
Yeah. So and cigars do that for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they want you to get that first little puff, gives you extra sweetness of the wrapper or whatever, or extra flavor of the wrapper, if you will. So they that's why they have the different types of foots. But then, you got to go a little bit deeper. You got to get, understand what about the wrapper of a leaf or of a cigar?
The wrapper, I know that's what pretty much encases the whole cigar. And it's, people eat with the eyes first. So the wrapper has to look good for me. Just like this one is two-tone. It's a two-tone wrapper. So that's what caught my eye when I first saw it. I walked by and I was like, oh shit, that wrapper has two different colors. Look at that. And it's not a barber pole. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and like the Filthy Hooligan has 3 different colors on the wrapper. It's got a Cameroon and I think a Habano and I forget what the other one is. But that has like 3 different colors. So that one catches a lot of people's eye when it comes out around St. Patty's Day. But yeah, so the wrappers are the first thing people notice, right? So they got to be smooth. They got to be pristine. Usually the leaves, the tobacco leaves that have like really heavy veins, inconsistent color, cosmetic blemishes, they're usually rejected as wrappers, and they're usually used as something a little bit else, maybe like a binder or something.
All right. I know if it has thick enough veins and they decide to use it, it's normally referred to as toothy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, toothy. Which is, it's just interesting because all it's really doing is just, it looks like little teeth marks because I've crunched on it because that's why that's the veins.
I can go back to the foot real quick. The shaggy foot. It was actually Punch. I think it was Egg Roll by Punch. Has a shaggy foot. I'm not a fan of shaggy foot. I, for some reason, can't like them as well as all the others. Have you had a shaggy foot?
I think I have. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I want to say, was it a Leaf by Oscar? I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure I've had a shaggy foot, and yes, it does take a while because you have to. I feel like I end up almost burning the end of the cigar, to get it to light.
Just want to throw that in before we got too far because I was just thinking about that shaggy foot, and I'm like, man, it's got like bits of tobacco kind of like sprouting everywhere. It really seems like an unfinished cut, and it's just looks shredded.
Yeah, you basically have to hold your lighter there a little bit extra time, make sure that's all lit. But you have what's an interesting cap, right? Which is at the head of the cigar. You know, the one that you put your mouth on. Don't put your mouth on the foot, people.
Or do, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I guess. Usually the cap's the same leaf as the wrapper, but you can distinguish the cap. There's a faint line or a seam around the head of the cigar where the end tapers, which is where the end tapers is called the shoulder of a cigar.
Oh.
Yeah. Now there's different heads and different caps, right? So you can have a tapered head, a pyramid head, bellicoso, and then you have the caps. You know, you can have a single cap, a double cap, or a triple cap. Usually you'll see 3 lines, 2 lines, 1 line. Triple cap is usually common in Cuban style of rolling. And then you can have elaborate stuff like what Dice has.
Yeah, this is Fu Manchu. It's supposed to be reminiscent of the old school Kung Fu flicks, of the old wise one with the long beard and white beard.
The long wispy stuff.
Oh, yeah. And that's exactly what it kind of resembles because they didn't put it at the top of the cap where you would cut it off. They put it on the side. And I must warn anyone that gets this cigar, do not pull the Fu Manchu off because it's on the side. If you was to pull it off, you would tear up the cap and the head. And it'll make for unpleasant smoke.
Well, yeah, because the cap actually helps keep the wrapper intact as you smoke. I've had caps pop off because I've had single cap cigars, and when I've cut them, I either cut them too deep or I didn't use the right kind of cutter on them. You kind of want to do something like a punch, maybe a guillotine if you do a really shallow guillotine cut, but don't do like a deep V cut like I did because that cap will just pop right off.
Yeah, I do know, talking to like cigar people in brick and mortars and lounges and stuff, the triple cap is commonly tried to say that the cigar is of higher quality. Is that true? I wouldn't necessarily say it's true. You could get a budget stick that's copying the Cuban style of rolling. You know, so I wouldn't put much weight behind that. But some people really believe that a triple cap means better quality.
I mean, I could kind of see it as long as you're not like trying to get a fake or something. You know, the brands are usually indicative of everything. Now, unless you're going for like those Cohibas, and I'm not talking about the red dot Cohibas, I'm talking about the Cohibas that everybody fakes. You know, if you're trying to get one of those and you're trying to fake off of it, sure, that's one thing. But usually, I could kind of see that Camachos usually have double cap. This M by Macanudo. Looking at it, I see 1, 2. Nope, there's 3. This is triple capped.
Mine is actually single cap.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that. Usually they do it. I would have figured they would have done a double cap.
I would have figured the same, but nope. There's only 1 line.
All right. Well, there you go. But so just under that wrapper and that cap lies the binder, and it does exactly what it says. It binds the filler tobaccos together, keeps them from wrapping and falling apart, because the wrapper is usually, as we all know, delicate. That's why you get wrapper splits. Wrappers can unpeel from the binder. All of the horrible things that can happen to a wrapper happen. So that's why you have the binder underneath it.
So the binder encases the filler.
Yep.
Pretty much it serves as just a holder of all the insides together. One big hug, big squeeze.
Yep. Yeah. It maintains that cigar structure. Some of them actually, interestingly enough, are rolled with either 1 or 2 binders.
So I don't know if I've smoked one with 2. I would think it would be a heavier smoke.
Actually, which is kind of interesting, Punch Vintage is blended with a pair of Connecticut broadleaf binder leaves.
Huh.
Yeah. Speaking of Punch.
Yeah. Good call, sir.
I'm always here to help. But yeah, so that's the binder. Usually they're wrapper leaves that are not nice enough to be a wrapper, so they're a little bit veiny or whatever. And they usually just are there to kind of enhance the flavor of the cigar. So it's like the same leaf as the wrapper, but it's just they don't look as nice. So they put it underneath everything to kind of keep it all there.
I've had a cigar where it unraveled on me, and all I had left was the binder. So I'm holding it in my hand, like trying to get the binder to stay together, and the cigar was just coming apart. Just the airflow was horrible, but I was like, I paid good money for this stick. I'm gonna smoke it. And it was just a complete mess. But yeah, the binder it definitely didn't have like that shine like the wrapper does, and it was just a complete mess. So
yeah,
I should have just called it a loss, to be honest with you.
You definitely should have. But I mean, the binders there, I mean, sometimes they're not the same leaf as the wrapper. Sometimes they have, I've smoked they have a Habano wrapper with a Ecuadorian binder and a Cameroon filler or something. I don't know. They blend all this stuff together. That's what makes these master blenders so amazing in my eyes, is because they can blend all these different subtle flavors together between the wrapper, the binder, and the fillers to make this wonderful, joyous smoke that we get in our hands.
Have you had enough of your binder and filler and wrapper to talk about the first third?
I believe that I have. So I'm getting definitely that coffee flavor. It's got definitely a hint of sweetness with it. It's got a little bit, I don't want to say earthy. It's just coffee flavored. I mean, it is a coffee flavored cigar, so I definitely get coffee flavored with a little bit of sweetness with it. What about you?
Well, I'm getting sweetness. If I had to put a name to sweetness, I would say maybe maple. And this creamy wood, creamy oak.
Okay.
Which is not bad. That's kind of what I expected from the cold draw. I got like a sweet raisin. Kind of with a back tone of like peanuts. So it's actually the flavor profile I was expecting from the cold draw.
That's good. Interesting. Yeah, I'm like I said, this is a coffee flavored cigar. Part of the reason I don't like flavored cigars is because they just overwhelm you with one flavor. So I'm definitely getting a coffee flavor with like a vanilla type sweetness. That's about it. Like there's no other subtle hints of anything.
My mascara line or burn line or eyeliner line, whatever line you want to call it, is pretty prominent. It's a little thicker than I'm used to seeing. So that tells me this cigar is not aged for a very long time. Yeah.
That's did you just buy that cigar? Like how long ago did you buy that?
I bought 2 of these, I want to say a couple of months ago. So it's been at least 2 months. It's just the mascara lines. I mean, it's not taken away from the smoke. It's still a very, very decent smoke. I wouldn't go out and be like, hey, world, go out and buy this cigar. It's so amazing. I wouldn't do that. I would say at least try it one time for the experience of having that Fu Manchu. I'm looking forward to my burn line getting to it. And I'm also looking forward to my burn line getting to the lighter shade of the Habana wrapper.
Yeah, I always love it when the cigar wrappers and the bands or the caps in this case, they enhance the smoking sensation of the cigar. Like, you get the Amazon basin. Yeah. You get to that little knot, that band, and it kind of changes the flavor of the cigar. It's really nice. But speaking of the flavor of the cigar, the filler, which is where the flavor comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Is underneath that binder, isn't it?
It is definitely underneath that binder, because that's what the binder's for, to tie it all together, buddy.
Now, when I first got into cigars, I kept hearing, oh, this is a long filler. Oh, this is a short filler. Oh, this is long filler. And I was like, what in the world are they talking about? I had no idea.
Yes, I was the same.
So long filler just means that they did not cut the filler leaves, and they hand rolled the filler leaves while they were still long. Short filler is usually when they cut the filler leaves. Now, short fillers, the reason that sometimes it's a bigger deal if they're short or long filler is because the short fillers can be made by machines.
Yeah, like your gas station cigars.
Yes, those are all short fillers. But sometimes some rollers will use shorter leaves to fill uneven spots in their cigars.
Okay, so I do know, like the long filler, they like to use closer to the cap, close to the head, because they don't want short filler bits and pieces getting in your mouth. And they typically use the short filler, if they have to, closer to the foot where you light.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes that could be an indication of quality. If it's short filler. Sometimes you kind of wonder why, and if it was made by a machine or whatever. But, overall, the filler is to me, that's what's so cool. You get different blends that give the flavors and different complexities and show off the cigar maker's talent for blending leaves. Like Steve Saka, he's a master blender. Oscar Hernandez, master blender. These guys could sit there and smoke 40 cigars of different leaves and different plants and tell me the different subtleties of each cigar and each leaf, and it's amazing that they could do that.
Yeah, I heard stories of people that go to these factories, the tours and stuff in Honduras and wherever, right? And near the end, you're able to blend your own cigar. Like, here you go, new guy. Go ahead and blend your cigar. And like the master blenders are there and they're shaking their heads like, that's not going to work. But it's a common mistake, I guess, all new people, when they try to blend their own cigar, that's what they end up doing. Like, they make it real bitter, or they make it so where it doesn't burn even because they didn't choose the right tobaccos. So being a master blender, I mean, any craft like that, after years and years of doing this, after a while, it comes second nature to these guys. So bravo to them.
Right. Well, and even even the different parts of the tobacco plant are used as different type of fillers, right? So like the top leaves, which is the top 40% of the tobacco plant, is called the ligero, and then you have the next 50% is called the seco, and then the last 9 or 10% is called the volado, and then at the very, very bottom, there's called sand leaves. It's the bote, it's the cleanup stuff. But the volado on the bottom of the plant is they're more combustible, so they burn better. Now, in contrast that to the ligero, which is the top 40%, those don't burn very well. So, and then the seco is obviously the middle, so it burns kind of okay. So what these blenders have to do is they put the volado, the bottom, the really combustible stuff on the outside, and then they build in with the seco, and then they build in with the ligero as a core on these fillers, because what ends up happening is that volado kind of heats everything up and it helps that ligero to burn. Now, there's different kinds of I'm going very, very broad here. The ligero has like a medio tempo, a corona, a centro gordo, and then the seco has a bunch of other like subcategories to it. But so what they do is they got to build it that way, and that's why when you smoke too fast, you're and you get that pyramid shape at the end of your cigar.
Yeah, I've got that.
What you're doing is you're heating up that volato, and that ligero, that middle filler, can't keep up because it doesn't burn as well, but it has all the flavor, and so you're basically heating that volato up and burning that down. That ligero can't keep up, so it doesn't burn as well, but it does have all the flavor.
And that's why some people have their ash. They kind of hold in that heat all the way through.
Yeah, that's why you see a bunch of people, they don't ash unless they absolutely have to.
Or it falls in their lap, and then your daughter laughs at you.
Facts. Also facts. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like, that's why these master blenders are so amazing to me, is because they take all these different leaves that have been dried and everything else, and they sit there and they go, okay, I got to start with the top leaf and run down the center, and then I got to start with the secco, and I kind of build that around there, and then I got to start with the volato, and I put that in there, and that way it'll burn everything, and then I put the binder around it and wrapper, and here you go, here's a cigar. It's just amazing to me that they can do that.
Yeah, here's your cigar. I put my band on it. Boom.
Yeah. Now the bands
to make her dance. Bands to make her dance. Okay. No, seriously.
Yeah, being a goof. So you were telling me a story before we got on here about where bands came from?
Yeah, I want to say it was around the Queen Victoria time frame. Of course, cigars was around then. And she smoked cigars, but she didn't want the tobacco on her fingers. So they would put a silk band or some sort of cloth or something around it where she would hold it with her fingers because she didn't want the icky tobacco on her fingers.
Yeah, so I mean, all my research, I found that it evolved in the 1800s. Between that and then a way to identify Cuban cigars imported to Europe versus European cigars that they made there. Nowadays, it communicates that brand identity, tradition, and of course, we shop with our eyes, right? I'm a huge proponent of a good-looking band. I will pick up and buy a cigar because of that band.
You, sir, are 100% a band whore.
Yes.
100%.
I'm not ashamed about it.
There's nothing wrong with that. I, myself, if I see a band that's too elaborate, I kind of shy away. Like, why is that band so elaborate? Because it wants me to buy that cigar, right? It wants me to. But then you'll get it and say it's a good cigar, and then I end up buying it eventually.
Yeah. That's how it works out. But you try a lot of the other cigars, the bands that I skip over, because they're not elaborate enough and don't look good. I have a huge issue with My Father bands. I don't think that they look good. I don't like My Father bands. I don't know why. Don't ask me. Like the My Father, I think it's the Judge. It has like a pinkish band with like some floral stuff, and I'm like, this is what you could come up with? This is the best you got?
That's it, sir. I like My Father cigars. I look at the band and it makes me think of motherfucker. So
hey, listen, I like My Father cigars. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like their bands. But you go out to a Black Label Trading Company.
Oh yeah,
their bands are I don't want to say ornate, but they're very interesting and they're like kind of eye popping. And they're like, whoa, what's that? It's got a skull on that shit.
Yeah, that definitely catches my eye too. And I'm like, oh, what, Killer Bee? Okay, I got that a try.
Yeah. Blackwork Studio, like, hey, what about the Rorschach? I had a Rorschach the other day, and that band was something.
But then you look at, because I'm a Davidoff fan, so you look at a Davidoff cigar band, and that's pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward.
I think Davidoff does not do their bands. Yeah, so I think Davidoff, they ride on their name more than their band, right? The Davidoff is to me, the premier cigar company. Everybody knows Davidoff. So they don't have to sit there and make these flashy, catchy bands because they're riding on their name. So they're to me, theirs is just a classy kind of, yes, this is who we are. Yes, you can smoke us, and we're happy to have you. But that's about it. Like they don't have to sit there and make a huge deal on their bands because they just don't have to.
That makes sense. Like Tesla. Tesla doesn't have any car commercials out there. Have you ever seen a car commercial for Tesla?
Nope. Everybody else does their marketing for them.
Yeah, 100%. Drive around like, what's that? It's a Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, bands are really cool. They're interesting to look at for sure. But yeah, I don't think Davidoffs especially have to do a whole lot. Kind of, I don't know. I feel like Romeo y Julieta is kind of phoning it in these days. I haven't seen a whole bunch of stuff from them.
They are like the classic cigar. Like they're what your grandfather smoked. So I smoked a few Romeo and Juliets. I really do like them.
Yeah, me too.
But I wouldn't go and be like, this is a premium brand. I would say it's just a really great cigar.
Yeah. I would probably agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. Like I said, that's why I have a problem with My Father's Cigars. It's because I just don't feel like they're trying very hard. I think they're trying to ride on their name, but I don't know. To me, their cigars are nothing to, I don't know.
I don't think they're
oh my God, they're amazing.
I believe the word we look for, iconic. Like Romeo and Juliet is iconic. Even though I don't think it's like super premium, it's still an iconic cigar. Just like Cohiba. Everybody knows what a Cohiba. Like you say Cohiba, like, oh yeah, I smoke Cubans all the time.
Yeah,
yeah. Just an icon, a cigar icon.
Right, exactly.
Macanudo, that's another one.
Yep.
Iconic.
Yeah, 100%. Macanudos are yeah, I would say somewhat iconic.
There's like 3 cigar brands that if I was to say, I call it the grandma test or your mom's test. If I was to say the names of 3 certain cigars, my mom would be like, oh yeah, those are cigars. But if I was to say my father's cigar or my father, not with the cigar on it, she wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. But are you to your second, third now? Almost to your band?
I am almost to the Fu Manchu. I would say I'm in my second, third. It's right above the beard line, I guess you would call it. So I'm still getting. I mean, there's no big transitions in the cigar by all means. I'm still getting like a creamy yolk. I can still get hints of like maybe a peanut in it. I mean, there's no thrills about this so far. Still a good cigar. Yeah. It's not changing. It's no transition.
Interesting. Do you think once you hit that Fu Manchu, it'll transition?
I am hoping. I can't say because it's the first time smoking it.
Right. Yeah. Of course. That's why I'm asking. I'm
hoping that it reminds me of the Amazon basin. When I got to that band, it was good. It was great. It added cinnamon to it. It actually enhanced a lot.
Okay.
How about yours?
Okay. Still that coffee and sweetness. I'm now like getting more of a coffee flavor versus the sweetness as the sweetness goes away. So it's good, but again, these flavored cigars, they just don't have a whole lot of depth to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We will take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our leadership topic of what to do if you've made the wrong call.
Oh yeah. Which we only can talk about a little bit.
Of course, just a little bit. We don't have a whole lot of experience with this.
All right, when we come. Hey, Austin.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you was doing this leadership of the Leaf podcast, and you were smoking on some cigars.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, how would I know what cigars you're smoking?
Oh, that is a phenomenal question. At the beginning of the episodes, we always talk about what cigars we are smoking. But if you want to see a picture of what the band looks like, because maybe you can't find it or we didn't explain it good enough, you can always go to our Instagram or our website, and we'll post pictures of what we're smoking and usually what we're drinking with every episode. And we're back. So, Dice, what do you do if you think you've made a wrong call, whether that be in a relationship, a business venture, anything?
So I assessed the situation just to ensure that I did make a bad call, or I did the wrong thing or a bad move, whatever it may be. And once I figure out I did make that bad call, I will try to learn from my mistake. Like, the stove is hot. I'm gonna make sure I don't touch that stove again. So I just try to learn from any bad call that is made. I try to learn from other people's bad calls as well. Like, that's not a good idea. But I'm not in the driver's seat, so I kind of watch and let it unfold. But the main thing is to learn from the mistake, learn from the bad call.
So I think anybody who makes a mistake should absolutely learn from their mistake. But I think one of the first things that you kind of have to do and be willing to do is admit that you made a mistake.
Yeah, that anybody that's dealt with AA or any kind of one of those, you got to, Dyson, I am an alcoholic. Like, they admit that they have a problem. They admit the mistake.
Yeah. So if you can admit the mistake, I think you kind of take ownership of that failure, the mistake, the oops, the fault, the whatever. But you can't let it weigh you down. You gotta recognize that you need to act quickly to move on to something better. There's a thing called the sunk cost fallacy. Like, you sunk a ship, my battleship.
Yeah.
But it's, people like, I heard this, one of my wife's friends actually said this to me, and I dang near lost my mind. But she goes, I know that my husband's not good for me, but we've been together for like 5 years, and I don't want to waste all this time realizing that I've done this or that or the other thing, and I wasted all this time. I want to work it out. And I'm like, but it's not good for you. Like, get out, just, and that's the same thing. You can't sit there and say, hey, I know that I've been trying to implement this process, but I've been trying to implement this process for 5 years, and I'm going to eventually make it succeed. No, you just need to move on to something better. Obviously that process is not working for you. Obviously that decision's bad for you. So you got to realize, like, even after you make the mistake, you got to sit there and be like, I know I've sunk 3 years into this project. It was a bad move. I've gone down the wrong path. I need to go back and start over again. And it could be heartbreaking and just soul crushing to do that. And that sucks.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm relating all this to like AA and drugs and stuff like that. Strung out on something, they need a fresh start. They need to get out of that sunken area as you're describing. And they move to a different area, a new neighborhood, just to try to get a fresh start, to take them away from that environment that caused them to make that bad mistakes, the bad habits that they picked up. So in the same sense, I can see, like, if you're at a job and you're like, this is a dead end job. That's what a lot of people refer to it as. So after a couple of years, you're like, I can see you need a fresh start. And you're right, it is soul crushing, and then sometimes it's very hard to do.
Yeah, and that's what sucks is, if you sit there and you've given, I'm going to give this guy, I don't want to say you go into it with a predetermined mindset, but sometimes you got to go in there and be like, man, this is the job for me. My wife actually she started a job about 2 years ago. And she said at the beginning of this, she goes, I love this job. I'm so fulfilled. This is the job. This is the path I want to go down. This is what I want to do. Now, fast forward 2 years, she goes, I am so burnt out. I'm so done. I didn't realize how all the problems with this field, but I don't want to start over again. And I said, no, because you're going to be burnt out all the time, and you're going to take it out on me, and you're going to take it out on our kid, and I don't want to have that. Let's start over fresh with something different. Maybe you won't be as fulfilled, or maybe you will be. I don't know, but you got to have a better, and her big thing is work-life balance, right? And that's so huge in today's world. And I said, you got to find a job. Maybe you won't be as fulfilled as working with, kids the way you are right now, but maybe you can go find a job with a better work-life balance, and you can interact with your kid on a better level, so you'll be more fulfilled in that sense. And she just, well, I don't want to start over again. You're not starting over. You have experience. It's in a different field, but you still have some sort of experience that you can bring over and say, hey, I can at least thrive in a fast-paced environment and a flexible type environment. Here's what I used to do. See, I can do that. Your
scenario, which fits a lot of people's scenarios, probably even my own to a fault, is the scary word of comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I know this guy that I'm married to is not good, but I'm comfortable. We're living a life I'm comfortable. I'm scared of what's next. So sometimes making that bad decision, you just get comfortable in the bad decision that you start living that lie.
Right. I actually stayed in a marriage. I actually was talking to my mom on my first marriage, and I said, I know that me and her aren't very good together, but what if I can't find another wife? What if I can't find another woman who treats me, even as decently as she does, which she didn't treat me very good, but obviously, but my mom was like, what are you talking about? She's like, there's so many fish in the sea or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, and I was like, but I've been with her since high school, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it took my mom kind of just bopping me on the head and being like, no, figure this out, because you're not happy, and I'll be damned if this is the way you're going to go down. Yeah, so it took a little bit, it takes some strength to get through.
Well, talking to your moms, and just sometimes just talking out just in general, even if you're talking to yourself in front of a mirror or whatever crazy stuff you need to do, is identify a remedy, identify how to move forward, identify how you can change up, identify how you can not make the same mistake twice. Right.
Because, even if you made a mistake in whatever sense, relationship, procedural, business, venture, whatever, you sometimes can sit there and go, hey, could I have seen this earlier? Could I have made this decision quicker? Yes. Okay, what's my remedy? All right, here's my remedy. It's to get out of this situation and do this. I forget who said it. It was one of the business leaders, like Bill Gates or Elon or somebody. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was like CEO of HP. But they said you got to be comfortable. You got to be comfortable making decisions with about 70% of the required information, and then be flexible enough to change course when you find out that you made a wrong decision.
Like football, when the quarterback calls the audible. He sees the defense set up, and he's like, well, this play isn't going to work, so I'm going to switch up. I'm going to flip the script, and then he calls the audible right there on the field.
Right.
So it's almost in the same boat, but I mean more realistic.
And the big thing is once you identify that, kind of extract that lesson, identify where you went wrong. Hey, where did I go wrong in my thinking process? Where did I go wrong in my decision-making process?
Depending on what your status or relationship or business, whatever your wrong mistake is in, sometimes for me, I know not everyone follows the same examples I do, but for me, I kind of jot things down. I'll write things down. I'll pay attention to it. That way, later, like I'm browsing through my notes, I can go back through and be like, you know what? I did that one time already, and it did not work out in its favor. I don't want to say it's like a diary, but it's more of a journal of.
Yeah. No, sometimes I wish I would have done that, because there's many times where I've like gone down something and I'm like, I've done this before. And this is the same mistake that I made last time, and I'm an idiot for falling into it again. But yeah, so sometimes once you extract that lesson, you got to share that knowledge.
I think that's a big key, a big proponent to the whole thing, because not only are you accepting it and you admit it and you're moving forward, you're also now you're saying it out loud to someone else. And they're actually listening. If they're listening and then taking it on board, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm actually sharing my wisdom that occurred in my life. So sharing it is kind of like teaching someone. You train someone, that's because you know how to do it. So if you're sharing a lesson learned, then by all means, you're sharing what you learned to someone else, and hopefully they don't fall in the same.
Yeah, and to me, it also makes you a little bit more credible as a leader. If one of my bosses can sit there and go, hey, I made a mistake, I led us down this path and it was wrong, sorry, I'm like, yeah, all right, this guy actually is willing to admit his mistakes and learn from them. I can work with this guy, or I can work for this guy or girl or whoever.
I'm going to interject. I have made it to the Fu Manchu, and I have to say it is throwing out hints of nutmeg.
Ooh.
It is definitely worth making it to the Fu Manchu.
Yeah, all right. Interesting. All right. But yeah, so I think it makes you a little bit more credible as a leader, doing that stuff. And then I fall into this trap, right? Once I make a mistake, I get into my own head. What's that? The Replacements, where Keanu Reeves says, "Oh, I'm scared of quicksand," right? where you make a mistake, and then you end up, because you're focused on that mistake, you make another one, and then because of that, you make another one.
Yeah, an example for me for that is when I'm playing basketball. I stupid and I make a mistake and you missed a shot or you missed a layup or whatever. Then for the rest of the game, I'm like thrown off. It's like, Dice, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I can't get it together, man. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you're on the bench. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. So sometimes to get out of that, you gotta, I don't know. I find practicing gratitude, and it's something stupid. Like, I'm thankful for, the car that I drive. I'm thankful that I had a way here. I'm thankful that I actually get to play in this game. I'm thankful that I get to make these decisions. I'm thankful I get to be paid to make these decisions. Yes, I made a bad one, but I'm thankful that I can learn from this stuff. And then that helps me get out of my own head and focus on the correct stuff.
Yeah, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So making mistakes is just part of leadership altogether. It's going to happen.
Yeah. If you don't make a mistake, you're not human.
Or just you could be one of those people that you're surrounded by yes men, so you really don't know if you made a mistake or not until reality slaps you in the face, and you're like, "Why did no one tell me this?"
Yeah, exactly. If you're surrounded by those people, or in a situation where you're around those people that won't tell you, don't have the strength to tell you that you made a mistake, you need to fire them or get some new people to be around, because there's so many times where you could sit there and be like, oh yeah, I made a mistake, and change course. And if they don't tell you made a mistake, you're going to end up broke, desperate, and destitute. Like, it's just a bad decision.
Yeah, you definitely got a circle of bosses. You definitely got to have your circle of bosses around you. We talked about circle bosses before on a previous episode, but that's essentially the key to a lot of these things, especially being a good leader. You want to have that circle of bosses around you to ensure that you're not being fed a yes man story, or your mistakes are covered up to where, you never learn. Because if you don't make a mistake, you don't really learn.
Exactly. And sometimes, you got to be humble enough to say, hey, I did make a mistake, or be humble enough to accept when somebody says, hey man, hey dude, hey person, hey whatever, hey, you made up, you fucked up, you made a mistake, here's where you fucked up. And you're like, no I didn't. Yes you did. And then if they can lay it out for you, and you can be like, oh, now I see where I made a mistake. Because sometimes it's a second, third, fourth order effect that is, a ripple effect that you ended up making a wrong mistake. And now that's causing buildup that's going to cause a problem. And you're like, oh, I didn't make a mistake. I just need to make a small tweak here. All right, it fits. Good to go. I see now. But if you're so bullheaded, you can't accept that feedback and that constructive criticism from somebody, then you're going to end up making all these mistakes.
Yeah, it falls back to that, you need to admit that you made a mistake. If you can't do that part, then you're doomed to failure, 100%. Yeah,
exactly. And then, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, that cliche, right? It's true. I mean,
it's there for a reason.
Yeah, they said it for a reason. It's there for a reason.
Yep. So I think I'm in my last third of my cigar. Definitely getting that coffee flavor, still getting that little sweetness. Again, it's a good smoke. Don't get me wrong. It's just one dimensional. I didn't get a whole bunch of flavor changes as I went through the cigar, like I do with a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same with mine until I hit the Fu Manchu. It's a great. I want to almost call this a budget stick. It was. I want to say it's around $7. I think $7 is like the budget stick level, right? Like a $10 cigar is not budget anymore. Used to be $7, but now $5 was a budget stick. Now I'll say $7 is about a budget stick. This is a great
inflation and taxes.
Yeah, it's a great filler cigar for when you just want something to smoke, but you don't want anything heavy.
Yeah,
like maybe like a Sunday afternoon or something.
Yeah, those are always nice. I mean, a nice Sunday afternoon where the weather's gorgeous and you're out here on a patio or whatever. I could see smoking a cigar like that.
Definitely. And the coffee's good too.
That's always a plus. I love the coffee. I haven't tried the Davidoff coffee. Maybe I'll have to get me some. I'm a Black Rifle coffee person. I drink my coffee black, so I've become a coffee snob, as my dad would say, because he drinks Folgers. And he adds milk and sugar and all this other stuff. And when I used to drink creamer like that, I could drink all that stuff because I didn't taste the coffee. I tasted the sugary creamer.
Yeah.
Now I have to drink my coffee black with whatever flavor notes it comes with, and Folgers does not do it anymore.
Yeah, I think I started drinking my coffee black. I don't want to show my age. I want to say about 20 years ago.
And that was, half your life ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Way to call my age out there, buddy.
Over half your life?
But I enjoy it. David R. Coffee I got from it's a specialty shop here in Vegas. So I think you can find it on Amazon.
Well, maybe I'll have to buy it sometime. So
Did you say ouch?
Yeah, I kicked my table. But yeah, so talked about, the different anatomy parts of the cigar, the head, the shoulders, the body, the foot, the cap, the wrapper, the binder, the filler, all of the wonderful stuff that goes into these wonderful sticks of tobacco that we light up and enjoy. And then, we got into that leadership part.
Yeah, sometimes you do make the wrong call. Just the steps you take when you make that wrong call. That's the important part.
Yeah, it's not the fact that you made a wrong call. It's what you do in the wake of making a wrong call that determines, in my eyes, what kind of leader you are.
I had a leader in my life that said the worst call you can make is not making one at all. To make a call, even if it's wrong, at least you was able to make a decision. Make a call. If you don't make one, then why are you in a leadership position?
Yeah, absolutely. That I have a guy with me right now at work. He cannot make a call. He waits for other people to tell him what call to make. And it drives me nuts because he will change his mind depending on who he's talking to. And it drives me absolutely up the wall because I'm constantly going, dude, you knew the right answer. Why did you change your mind? Well, because so-and-so said X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, no. This is not a thing. Like, you need to reevaluate what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's taking democratic leadership to a whole different level.
It's bad. So, yeah, I don't think he'll be in that position much longer because he's not meant for it, but that's okay. Not everybody's strengths are where they're at right now.
Well, some people are not, I hate to say this, but some people are not fit to be a leader. Some people are fit to be that follower, a strong follower, or a good secondhand man. Some people are fit for that. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to be an amazing leader. Because if that was the case, we would have umpteen million different leaders in the world today. Whereas, really, if you sit down and think about it, there's not that many leaders you would say, hey, I'll follow that guy off a cliff,
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good thing. I mean, everybody is bred different. We can't all be, the guy that everybody goes to, that general that everybody goes to. For me, General Mattis, hands down, takes the cake as a dude I would follow into hell and back. He's just that kind of guy. Like, he inspires people. Elon, whether you like him or not, he has risen Tesla and SpaceX and all of these other companies up to great heights.
After people was telling him he can't do it.
Yeah, and so I would say that guy is a good leader. I finished my book on Grant, actually.
All right.
It was a phenomenal book. But he even said at Lincoln's funeral, right? He actually, for Grant, if anybody knows anything about President Grant or General Grant at that time, he never showed emotion. He was very calm, cool-headed, level-headed the entire time. You wouldn't even know that he was stressed unless you measured how many cigars he was smoking. That's how people described him. They're like, oh, General Grant's working as usual. The only reason I can tell he's a little bit perturbed is because he's upped his normal cigars from 4 a day to 7 a day. That's how they could tell that he was stressed. Other than that, like, even when he won and got General Lee to surrender, he was very cordial. He was just not the kind of guy, but he at Lincoln's funeral showed emotion and broke down and cried and said Abraham Lincoln was one of the greatest leaders he's ever seen in his lifetime.
Smoking cigars just to meditate.
Yep. So very interesting. It was a great book. If you guys want to read it, it was Grant Takes Command. It was a phenomenal book. I definitely learned a lot. But yeah, until next time, I'm Austin.
And this is Dice.
And we will catch you guys later.
All right. Thank you for listening to Leadership of the Leaf. The comments and opinions expressed by the host and guests does not reflect the opinions of those that broadcast this show, nor does it reflect any of our affiliates.